You open your banking app and pay the invoice. Not because you agree with it, just to stop the reminders. You tell yourself you'll sort it out later, once things are calmer. By the time you try, the tone has changed, and so has the way the situation is treated. It started as a nuisance, not a decision, a charge you didn't recognize fully, a bill that felt inflated, a fee that didn't match what you expected. You didn't want the account frozen, or the service paused. You didn't want the awkward follow-up calls. Paying felt like housekeeping, something you could reverse or argue about once the pressure was off. But the pressure doesn't lift, it just moves. The first shift happens quietly. You email to query the charge after paying. The response is polite but different now, shorter, less flexible. The language assumes closure. The issue isn't framed as open anymore, it's framed as something that's already been resolved. You notice the change but can't point to the exact moment it happened. That moment was the payment. A similar thing plays out with a landlord dispute. There's a repair you didn't authorize. The cost feels wrong. You're told it's urgent, that delaying payment could cause problems. So you pay, planning to challenge it once you have time to breathe. The receipt lands in your inbox. The conversation goes quiet. When you raise it again, weeks later, the response treats the matter as finished. The work was done. The invoice was paid. There's no appetite to reopen it. What you thought was a temporary concession is now treated as acceptance that arrived right on time. Then there's the version with a service provider, a cancellation fee you don't think applies, a renewal charge you didn't expect. You're tired of waiting on hold. The amount isn't catastrophic. You pay it to move on. You assume the real discussion can happen after the balance is cleared. But once the balance is cleared, the discussion never quite starts. What's happening isn't punishment or trickery, it's procedure. Payment isn't just money changing hands, it's a signal. It tells the system how to classify what just happened. Was this disputed? Was it unresolved, or was it settled? Once payment is logged, the path narrows, records update, accounts close, timelines move forward. The room for disagreement doesn't vanish dramatically, it just stops being visible. When you later say you never accepted the charge, the response doesn't argue with you. It simply points to what already happened. You paid. That single action starts doing work you didn't assign to it. It doesn't capture your hesitation. It doesn't record your intention to revisit it. It doesn't store the context that made paying feel easier than fighting. It just sits there clean and final and lets everything else be built around it. By the time you realize how it's being read, the framing is already fixed. You're no longer disputing a charge. You're questioning something that on paper was completed without resistance. The timing has shifted against you, not because you waited too long to complain, but because you acted too early to close the account. The unsettling part is who this catches. Not people who agree, people who cope, people who pay to keep things running, people who treat money as temporary and arguments as flexible, the kind of people who believe settling first keeps options open. The ending flips that belief. The law doesn't look at what you plan to challenge, it looks at what you allowed to stand. And the moment you paid to be reasonable is the moment the issue stopped being open at all.